My name's Nicole Luiken. I'm the author of 14 young adult novels. Today's topic is be mean to your main character. Now you may be saying to yourself, I don't want to be mean to my main character. I like my main character. But my advice is be mean and then promise them a happy ending. Why should you be mean? Well, there's basically two reasons. Being mean to your main character has two advantages. Number one, it can increase reader sympathy. If your reader feels sympathy towards your main character, feels sorry for them, or identifies with them in some way, then they're more likely to want to keep reading about the story to see if the character reaches their goals. Number two, it can add conflict to the story. So, let's go through an example. I don't know if you are all familiar with Cinderella. But the original fairy tale is pretty mean to Cinderella. Both of her parents are dead, and she's living with her stepmother and two stepsisters who treat her very cruelly. They dress her in rags, and they make her do all the work as if she's a servant. And when the invitation comes to go to the royal ball, even though Cinderella should be allowed to go, they say that she can't go. So what happens if instead of being mean to Cinderella, we're nice to her instead? Well, her father's probably still alive. Maybe her mother is too, or maybe he's remarried, but her stepmom is someone that Cinderella likes. And her stepsisters too. Except now, you can't even call her Cinderella, because the cinder part of her name came from her cleaning out the fireplace. So now it's just Ella. So Ella and her two sisters get an invitation to the royal ball, and they're all really excited, and they go out and buy new dresses and get their hair done and everything, and they go to the ball, and Cinderella falls in love with the prince, and her sisters are so happy for her, and they are bridesmaids at her wedding. The end. Well, that was nice for Cinderella, but it was kind of a bit dull to read, wasn't it? There are three ways that I can think of to increase reader sympathy. The first way is to give your reader a tragic past. The second way would be to give them a dreadful present. And the third way would be to give them a flaw or weakness of some kind. Now, the tragic past, you'll see a lot of this. Cinderella is an example of a tragic past. She's been orphaned. So has Harry Potter. So has Luke Skywalker. Actually, getting orphaned is really, really common in fiction, isn't it? But you don't have to go that severe a route with your tragic past. Your tragic past could just be something that happened a month ago that is still really bothering your character. Like if they fell flat on their face in front of the whole class and felt humiliated. So the dreadful present is, again, you can use these in combination. So Harry Potter also has a dreadful present because he's basically kind of a male Cinderella, really. The Dursleys treat him like a servant, and he has to live in that cupboard under the stairs. But being bullied, or just having something terrible happening in their home life at the moment, the parents going through a divorce or having to move towns, anything like that can make for a dreadful present that will make the reader sympathize more with your main character. And the third way is to give your character a flaw or a weakness of some kind. I'm not really talking about a physical challenge like blindness or something. I'm talking more about things like your character having a fear of big dogs, or fear of the dark, something that is really bothering them. And all these things can make your reader more sympathize more with your main character. We like to cheer for the underdog, don't we? If you were writing a race story about two characters, and one was a rich girl, a nice girl, but rich, had the best sneakers and maybe a personal coach or something like that, and her parents were always in the stands watching her, and she won the race for the last 3 years in a row. And then your other character was someone who just moved to town and didn't have any friends yet, and they really desperately wanted to win this race so that their grandma would be proud of them. You'd probably cheer a little bit more for the underdog character, wouldn't you? I would. The other thing that being mean to your main character can do is to increase conflict. Now, first of all, in the Cinderella story, when we were too nice there, we took away the antagonist, the stepmom and the stepsisters, and then there was just no story left at all. But the conflict can also be just applied to the action level. Let's say that you're writing an action scene, and your main character, Jamie, has to rescue her sister Priscilla from a prison. Now, if you're not mean to Jamie, if you're too nice, you might write something like this. Jamie's amazing string of luck held. When she snuck into the prison, she found the guard sleeping. She took the key ring off the hook next to the door, and there were 3 prison cells. She opened the first one, and inside she found her sister Priscilla. They hugged and then tiptoed past the guard and made it safely home. The end. Again, not very satisfying. So when you write an action scene, take a look at possible places where you could be mean, where things could go wrong for your character. Let's say, so in that scene that we just talked about, for instance, the guard could be awake. That's the most obvious thing. So then Jamie would have to fight them with martial arts, or create a diversion, or maybe talk them out of being on guard somehow, fool them, trick them. There's lots of different ways you could do it. The point is to put an obstacle in her way. Then the second thing that was too easy was the keys, right? I mean, the keys were just hanging right there on a hook. You could even keep the guard still asleep, but if the keys were in his pocket, then she'd have to be so careful to try to sneak them out without waking him up. That would be a lot more tension in your scene there. The third way that I can see to complicate that scene and be mean to Jamie would be if, of the 3 prison cells, she knew that one of them contained something dangerous. Now, whether this is a tiger or murder or whatever would depend on your story. But she wouldn't know which one her sister was in. Or when she opened the prison door and found her sister, she could find that her sister was unable to leave with her for some reason. Maybe her sister made a friend with the person in the cell next door who'd been taken upstairs for questioning, and she wanted to wait until they came back. Or her sister was drugged to sleep, and Jamie would have to try to move a body, you know. So there's all sorts of things you can do to complicate your story. So my advice is be mean to your main character, increase reader sympathy, increase conflict, and have fun writing. This video was brought to you by YABS, Young Alberta Book Society.